All right.
Hey, run over to the room and get my laptop.
But before you do that, we actually have a really big announcement in the Black Tide Rising universe. So John, I am going to turn this over to you and Richard and Mike and yeah, I know I have slides. Yeah. I'm gonna turn this over to you guys, and we're gonna talk about exciting new projects. So that concludes the Baen portion of our program. Thank you.
Oh, and before we get this started, there's a preliminary Black Tide Rising announcement. Before we get to the big announcement, we do have a contract for a second anthology. Sometime in 2018.
Sometime in 2018.
Sometime, maybe.
Depends on when you guys turn it in.
Yeah, right. I turn my stuff in on time, and I read it. It's going to be called Voices of the Fall, coming in 2018-ish. So far in the anthology, John Ringo, Dave Freer, Sarah Hoyt, John Birmingham, Travis Taylor, Chuck Gannon, Mike Williamson, Jody Lynn Nye, Mike Massa, Robert Butner, Brendan Dubois, Ted Roberts, Mike Gantz, and Griffin Barber.
In addition, we have a collaborative novel in the Black Tide Rising universe. Mike Massa, who in no way whatsoever is the original for Tom Smith.
Not at all.
Not at all. Is writing the novel called More Than His Salt, which is the story of Tom Smith after the rest of the Smith family depart from New York. And the choices that he has to make along the line. And the second half of the novel takes place almost entirely someplace, what is it, the Tennessee Valley?
Here.
It takes place here in the Tennessee Valley, mostly at Watts Bar. So, I don't know if Mike's here, but anyway, we have...
He's in the back.
There's that novel, and we're working on, and there are a couple other things which are in the works to essentially turn Black Tide into a shared universe. Now we get to the big announcement. Last year at LibertyCon, I met this gentleman, Richard Rosenthal, and the gentleman next to him, Mike Lerman. I always get his last name wrong. And we started talking about doing some video stuff. And initially, we batted around a lot of ideas. And then last year at DragonCon, Richard and I basically were drinking out on the porch at the Barfly Suite at DragonCon, and kind of came to an agreement about where we wanted to go with it. It's taken more or less a year to get all the ducks in order. But what we're going to do now is we're going to throw ourselves on the mercy of our fan base. We would like to do a promotional video for the Black Tide Rising universe to pitch to TV and movie studios, which requires money. And so we are going to crowdfund that video, which is what this announcement is about. We have talked about a number of different potential videos that we could do. We've talked about doing Faith's scrum scene. That actually, we could do a much longer video for much less money, it turns out. Because combat scenes are the most expensive things you can do. So we're talking about what exactly we're going to do. But we're doing a crowdfund for video, and I would now like to introduce the members of R&B Productions. And I'd like to introduce my friend Richard Rosenthal.
Thanks, John. Well, obviously you know who I am. My partner, Mike, and my other partner, Brett. And like John was saying, we met Tony about a year and a half ago at Chattacon in 2016, and we sat down and started talking about, she said, what do you do? I told her what I did, I produce films, and I said, I'm looking for some properties to work with. She says, well, I've got a property, I'll send it to you. I said, okay, fine. And about 10 days later, here come these 4 books, and I start reading the books. Well, you need to know something about me. I've been, for basically the last 8 or 9 years, I've been doing shorts with friends of mine that are in the film industry in Georgia. These are usually people who work on The Walking Dead, The Vampire Diaries, Sleepy Hollow, all this kind of stuff. And they all want to do feature films. And I went, great. I said, how about we try to do short films first? If you can do a short film, we can talk about doing a feature film. So because of their interests, they're all into zombies and vampires. And I guess about 2 years ago, I had it to about up here with zombies and vampires. So when I start reading the books, I go, crap, it's a zombie apocalypse. I said, this is not what I want. But as a good producer, I keep reading. And as they like to say, just when I thought I was out, Ringo pulled me back in. So here we are today. As John said, we've been going for the last year or so, just chit-chatting, talking about what we want to do. The idea right now with some producers I met with a few weeks ago, their suggestion was, look, you got to be able to tell a story that would be easier for us to sell than the scrum scene. Aside from the fact that the scrum scene is very expensive to do on a per-minute basis of film. So we were talking about the story itself. I said, there's this neat little thing in the story that gets developed that's called the Welcome to Wolf Squadron video. And I said,
yes.
I said, there you go. I said, that'll kind of be the synopsis, so that'll be the way we sell it. It's probably the most concise way of doing it without telling somebody the whole story. So that's what we're going to look to do. And that's what they were interested in hearing and knowing we could do for them. So with that being said, the idea is what we want to sell this as would be episodic TV, because I think that the stories, and we have the option on the 4 books plus the anthology, which I like, because the anthologies being, the stories there being in the same universe, we can sort of insert them into the storylines that we're doing to sort of break things up and tell the story of what's happening to the world from a slightly different point of view than just necessarily like it is at the beginning from the Smiths' point of view. So we're real excited about this. We've got a lot to do. And with that, I'm going to let Mike talk for a little bit, and then let Brett talk about what he does.
One real quick thing that I'd like to point out is that at some point we have to bring in a Marine.
Yeah.
Okay, because I'm all these guys are vets. I'm Army. Richard was Navy. Mike was Air Force, and Brett balanced a ball on his nose, as I remember.
Correct.
We ought to, fellow brother.
Brett's a former Navy SEAL, so he's the closest thing to a Marine we have.
I thought we were tight, Richard.
And we were doing so well.
No bloodshed on the stage. Come on.
Those sunny beaches. Those sunny beaches.
As John mentioned, my name is Mike Lerman. I'm one of the producers on the project. My role in the project going forward has been sort of bring the team together and to go out and seek projects out with Richard. That's actually how I met Tony. Going back a little farther than that, the first thing Richard and I have been doing for a little while too is we've been doing a lot of behind-the-scenes advocacy in Georgia for getting veterans involved in the film and TV industry, because it's just such a good fit. It's a big booming industry. Georgia's really trying to expand it. They're trying to get their local workforce built up, and they've got this great resource sitting right there that they just haven't been utilizing to its fullest extent. And we've been trying to push that really hard with the people we know in the community. And Tony and Baen was, they were some of the first sponsors of our Mission Valor organization that's been promoting that. And we sort of started the conversation that way, thinking, okay, how can we do some things to sort of get the word out and try to create some solutions to this issue. And as we all actually kind of got together the same way as vets, and we decided, hey, why don't we put our skills together and why don't we form a company and seek out some of these projects that just get overlooked for one reason or another. And quite honestly, in my estimate, this is a huge gap in the industry's field of view, this fandom and this fan base, and that's something we want to exploit, and that's something that we want to create to give you guys stories that you want. And I think one of the other advantages that we have too is with us being veterans, we're not using that list of how to identify firearms. We know everything's not a Glock. I think that helps it right off the bat. And I think if we go like one more slide before there. You want to talk?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, go ahead.
So this was, go ahead.
For obvious reasons, the infected cannot be nude. All right.
We have a ratings issue there.
So how do you identify the infected otherwise?
We're working on that.
Right. So we had some discussions at that at length. This was from a makeup test I did a few months ago. And when I went to go see the makeup artist who did this, he's worked on The Walking Dead. He says, I have some great ideas for zombies. He gets his book out, and he's showing me all these, Haitian zombies and whatever zombies. And I'm going, no. They're not really zombies. They're kind of sick. And I said, they're infected people. He said, so what do you see them look like? I said, they look like they have a really bad case of the flu. So the fellow on the left is sort of how it started out. And we were progressing along because I said, I want to see what they'll look like as they've been basically infected people for a while and or they've been in fights. The other thing I wanted to see, as you can see this fellow has, I said, I want to see what it looks like when someone has a real beard, because I don't want to have to do fake beards to make everything work. So it looked like it came out really well. I was happy with the way it looks. I don't know what you guys think about it, but we'll get some feedback from you and you can tell us about that. I bet you want to.
Sure. Yeah, my name is Brett Lynch, and as they've said already down here, that previous career in the Navy, I was a Navy SEAL. So I've been around the world twice, talked to everyone once, and I hope to meet all you. Anyways, after I got out of the military, I went up to Los Angeles and to get into film and television. And because of my background, I started working in film and television in front of the camera. So I worked on about every TV show that's filmed out there that has anything to do with SWAT and military, police, anything like that. So Cold Case, Bones, Jericho, NCIS, just about anything else. Worked with a few actors, helped train them, get them ready for movies. Worked with Tom Cruise a couple times, which he's already pretty good at weapons. He's done a few movies now. Anyways, I did a lot, and while I was doing that, I was going to film school at the same time because ultimately I wanted to have my own vision, come to life. And I'd like to sit here and say that no, I never went to film school and did it all myself, but I think I did pretty good there. I, classically trained, and I fell in love with theory and how it really works with film. To fast forward from that, I had a kid about 2 years ago, me and my wife, and we said we need to move someplace else where it's a little bit more family friendly and a little bit, cost of living's a little better. So we decided to head out east out here, have a few friends out here, and both our family lives out here. Of course, they live a little north, and I just can't live where the snow line is necessarily. So. I mean, yeah, I try to tell people snow's here, and they go, yeah, all right. I mean, it doesn't stick, but anyways, so I met Mike here when I first moved here, and we started getting, our passion together about getting film and get something made, and he came along and met Richard over there and kind of made our trio, complete. And I love the fact that I can do what I went to school for and do what I love to do, and that's basically being a director and directing film. And since these two love and to be producers, that's great. I'll allow them to produce and make it happen, and I'll do my part. And I think we have a great collaboration here between the three veterans, here. Yeah.
One of the things I'd like to make really clear about this is that when it comes to Hollywood and options and all of that stuff, I'm willing to be a prostitute. If some studio comes along and offers me X millions of dollars for an option on something, and they're like, but all we really want is the name, and otherwise we're just going to rape the whole story, I'll be like, well, $2 million. You want Aldonada and Mike O'Neill is a gay cross-dresser, go for it. For $2 million. Okay. Oh yes, I got mortgages to pay. Okay. But what I really liked about this was, one of the things to understand is that when you go from a written medium to a visual medium, there are changes. Okay. And the worst part is that when you read something, you create an image in your head. And then when you see it on film, it's not the same image that you had in your head. So that's one of the issues. But one of the things with working with all three of them has been the constant back and forth about, okay, how do we make this right for visual and still stay true to the thematics of the universe, true to the Fliegenspiel. The word for it is the flight spirit, the feel, the spirit of the stories. And that's one of the things that, I'm really comfortable working with these guys. What they come up with is going to have that thematic, that spirit. We were talking about thematics a while back, and I said that, listen to, I can't think of the freaking name of the song right now. Writing the Day Every Day. When I sign
Last Ride
books
of the Day.
Last Ride of the Day. When I sign books and I inscribe them, and I'm giving this away, but when I sign the books from those, my inscription is usually writing the day every day into sunset, finding the way back home. And it's not about zombies. The zombies are a background. It's about a world that has fallen apart, and the competent people have got to pull themselves up by their bootstraps and find their way back home.
And that's the kind of people that John knows, that a lot of these characters are based on those real living people, and we want to honor that, because they're the same people we serve with, the same people that we want to appeal this to, since that's so much of the fan base. Back to what I was talking about a little earlier, as far as sort of. Oh, sorry. Oh, okay. Better?
Air Force.
Sorry about that. Yeah. This is why I like to be behind the camera. But it's
because the rest of us can actually project all the way to the back of the Air Force.
John, he wasn't preaching. We have no problem.
You're lucky that Casey already left for her reading.
You make sure my backup was gone on that one.
Oh yeah, I forgot about Casey.
But anyway, as far as what I previously said about building the team, one of the reasons that we're here today is because we're here to recruit the most important member of the team, and that's everybody in this audience, and that's everybody in the Baen fan base worldwide. If you guys are familiar with Adam Carolla, if anybody ever knows his TV shows, radio shows, podcasts, he got fired from his terrestrial radio job, didn't know what to do. He started podcasting, and within a couple of years, he almost single-handedly turned podcasting into a commercially viable medium that directly competes with radio now. And we see this as the right time and the right place to do that. And hey, we're building our own pirate ship. We want you guys to come on board with us. Make this happen.
Guys, it's kind of fun. John and I have these interesting conversations where we're talking about how things would get adjusted. So this is something. When I started reading the books, I went, Trixie's kind of interesting. Trixie's in the backpack. And I was sitting there going, we ought to make Trixie into a character where maybe Trixie talks to Faith. But the only person that can hear Trixie is Faith. And it would just be kind of interesting to work it out that way. And you can see we kind of made Trixie a little grumpy. She's not like a usual teddy bear in these drawings. Obviously, you know, when we'll do it, it'll have to look the way it looks. But these are the kind of things we do, and when John and I talk about these things, it's always kind of funny because he'll start a sentence, I'll finish a sentence, I'll start a sentence, he finishes the sentence, and it's been working together really, really well. So we're looking forward to continue working with John and you know, taking the input from all of you folks and, you know, making this thing come to life so that a broader audience can basically get exposed to the great work that John has done in this universe and what Baen's done for it to bring it to life in the book.
You'll see some of that concept art in finished form a little bit later on some of our perks. We're very fortunate to have the support of one of my test readers. I found someone who was not familiar with John at all, never read any of his books, sent her the books along, and she's a fan of these kind of pop culture things. She loved him instantly, was hooked, and we're fortunate her 15-year-old daughter is just an amazingly talented artist and is putting this stuff together for us. So I think you guys are really going to like what we have for you later down the road. Quick note on the sites, we had a little bit of a hiccup on the redirect on blacktiderising.com. The crowdfunding campaign can be found on Indiegogo. It is up on our Black Tide Rising Facebook page right now. That redirect should be working shortly, and we do have Twitter and Instagram feeds that are coming online today that you'll also be able to see off the Facebook page.
I hate to feel like a televangelist, but if you guys want to see this stuff up on the screen, we're going to need some help.
Yep, the power's in your hands.
And pass the word, spread it around,
make it happen.
get as many possible people as we can involved in this, okay?
Well, I guess when we finish the roadshow and it's done and Tony has finished what she wants to do, that's great. We'll hang around. If you folks have questions, we'll be glad to do a Q&A with you.
All right, light a candle, send some money. So.
Thank you guys.
Light a candle, people, light a candle.
Thank you guys.
Go Navy.